Yeah, let's do that. So we got a NB Q&A from Matt, one of our longtime listeners, aka Ginger Spurs Boy, who is just, as you can imagine, I'm getting emotional talking about it.
Save that for the beginning of the episode.
I believe that was some sort of berry seed that found its way to the back of my throat. So good times. Anyway.
Horse is hosted by Adam Mamawala, and thanks for listening to this episode of Horse.
That's the intro. Can't say we overrule the previous. There's going to be two.
Put them both. Yeah. Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host, the Warriors fans in the past saying, fuck Chris Paul, to the Warriors fans in the present saying, hooray, Chris Paul. It's Adam Mamawala. Adam, how's it going?
It's going well. How the turntables?
How the turntables indeed. Chris Paul has been traded to the Golden State Warriors, one of many trades that happened recently. A lot of things went down in between us recording our last episode and even our last episode posting. We'll talk about a lot of these in Full Court Press today. But not only did Warriors fans used to say fuck Chris Paul, but apparently the players said fuck Chris Paul after one of those infamous Warriors versus Houston Rockets rivalry games from the mid-2010s. The Warriors chanted that as they eliminated the Rockets one season. So
the Warriors fans?
Just a fun little 180. Yeah, Warriors fans.
Oh, you said the Warriors chanted that.
Oh, no, I stood correctly. The literal Golden State Warriors, as they went back into their locker room, as according to reports by Brian Windhorst this week, they chanted fuck Chris Paul on their way back into the locker room.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So now they have to quick, delete all of their tweet history and all these things because, I love Chris Paul and I always have.
Listen, people love winning more than anything. So if Chris Paul can help them win, I think that is what they value.
I think it is as well. And let's get ready to talk about the various basketball things that we will be discussing in this episode by centering ourselves. And the place that we like to center ourselves is the Teal Memorial locker room. We're never saying fuck Teal on our way to the Teal Memorial locker room. Very, very pro Teal sentiments all around, on the way in, on the way out, inside the Teal locker room. Always good Teal vibes. You know who also always has really good vibes?
I would say our patrons.
It is our patrons. So shout out to our patrons who are supporting us and making this little thing we do possible. Shout out to Polly Burge, Kendra Hadley, Salvatore Testa, Trust the Process, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, How About Them World Champion Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed, Steph Curvy for 3.
Bang.
Hi, Trish, Nicole Arsenault, Stubby Boardman Gets Paid, Chase Underulo, Mr. Bubbles Plays Ball, Naked Rachel, and Sydney Crosby is a vampire. Thank you all so much for supporting. It costs money to make this podcast, so for you to give money to us to make this free thing, we appreciate you quite a whole lot.
Indeed. That was kind of unintentional, leaving the world champion Denver Steam Nuggets in there. That was just a copy and paste from last week, but it is kind of a nice nod to our interview for today. So a little preview there.
Yeah, and the patron Lisa, who is Denver Steam Nuggets, she did say, I believe on Twitter, something to the effect of like, oh, would it be too much for me to leave that in? I don't think so at all.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
You won the title.
I'm fine leaving it in until they are not champions anymore. So until there's a new champion next year, and maybe it's them again, that's fine with me.
Look, you got the belt. Why not show it off? If the Knicks ever win a championship, I won't shut up about it for the rest of my life.
Oh, you'll
the rest
be
of my life, I will
It's going to be a problem. Yeah.
The rest of my life, I will be so annoying, but everyone will be okay with it because they know the pain that I've been through. It's like you with the Cubs. You can just dance on that forever.
It's true.
Forever.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know what else is really nice to have?
Getting dough from sponsors, man.
It is really nice to have sponsors and the dough that they provide. That's usually the thing that we like the most about them. But we do have a sponsor for this episode, and that sponsor is Shaker and Spoon. If you're looking to celebrate something or just have a fun night in or having people over, holiday weekend stuff coming around, maybe you want to have some folks over for the 4th of July and you want to do more than just buy some beer, well, you can do Shaker and Spoon. Shaker and Spoon is a delivery service that sends you a box of ingredients and instructions to make a bunch of different cocktails, all with the same alcohol. All you got to do is supply the bottle of booze, and they supply everything else. It is simple. It is easy. It makes you look really cool. And because you're a horse listener, you can get a discount. If you go to shakerandspoon.com/horse, you'll get $20 off your first box, and boxes are usually between $40 and $50. So that's about half off. Pretty good deal by my math. So head on over to shakerandspoon.com/horse if you want to be a fancy person today.
Yeah, do that. What's a good red, white, and blue cocktail?
You could do a little margarita, but with like strawberry and blueberry or something in there, you know? A little muddled fruit drink. Maybe if you want to get...
Throwing a little blue curacao.
Ooh, yeah. Blue curacao, which is just the adult version of blue raspberry, where they're like, I want this drink to be blue. So please put this in it.
Does it look like antifreeze? It sure does.
Windex. Nom, 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 nom. Now, at this point, you will also hear words from a few sponsors who make it feasible for us to make this podcast as well. Some of those ads will be read by us, such as from our new sponsor, AG1. Other ads won't be read by us. Those are inserted locally, so they might be in your country's native language or about the city you live in. Once those ads are complete, we'll continue this episode of Horse. Okay, Adam, now that we've heard from other sponsors, what do you have going on in your life?
Well, what do I have going on in my life? Just more doing stand-up and having fun and living life. Undercover Comics still out on Amazon Prime. We may start advertising that pretty soon. You just completed it.
I did.
And I think you largely enjoyed it. I do expect your honest feedback, perhaps off the air, but I think you mostly liked it. What did you think about it?
It's good. It's fun. The episodes are really easy to get through in terms of enjoyment level and also length. They're like 22 minutes, but even the credits is a chunk of that. So like you can blitz through the 6 episode season quite quickly. Kelly and I just made a routine of it, of basically when we sat down to eat dinner, we popped on an episode, and it lasted, about the time it would take to eat a meal, which was very nice. And then 6 days later, we finished. It was very fun. You get to see Adam acting and stand-up comedianing and doing a little tiny bit of basketball in there too. Ooh.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit in the little Story Park hoops. You may or may not be wearing a cutoff sleeve shirt. Ow, ow.
And that also featured a cameo from Bobby Friedman, who we had on the show.
Yes.
So he had his little Alfred Hitchcock moment popping in there for a short scene. But yes, that is still on Amazon Prime. It will hopefully be streaming for free very soon on Roku and other places. But other than that, continuing to book out my stand-up schedule. I think I've mentioned before that I have some dates in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's going to be in August. I'm going to be in Jamestown, New York for the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival. That's the first weekend of August. I'm working on a Chicago date, hopefully Boston and DC to come as well, and then ongoing stuff in New York. But you can find out about all that stuff, my social media at Adam Mamawala or at my website, adammamawala.com/standup. And if you haven't already, sign up for my mailing list. Tell me where to perform and get an email like once a month with me just letting you know what I have going on. What about you?
Got the same live shows that I had mentioned before, Hartford in the middle of July, and then got a little Midwest run in August, going to do Chicago and Milwaukee and Minneapolis. But also when I'm there in the Midwest, something I've been talking about a lot, I'm going to be at LeakyCon, which is now beyond just a Harry Potter convention, just a general nerdy convention. We'll be there the whole weekend. I'll be doing stuff for Potterless and the Noose Olympian. It'll be fun. And I believe if you use the promo code Potterless when you get tickets at leakycon.com, you can get 10% off. I'm not positive, but that's usually what they do. So head on over there and do that if you want to see me doing a whole bunch of stuff. I'll be very busy that weekend doing lots of things, but that's how I prefer to do conventions. If I'm going to be out there, I want to do stuff. I don't want to sit around. Come on. So you can check me out doing stuff there. So with all of that complete, shall we get into NB Q&A?
Yes, our NB Q&A today comes from a longtime listener, Matt, a.k.a. Ginger Spurs Boy, who, as you can imagine, is through the moon. He's through things. He's so...
in cloud nine, yeah.
He is swimming on cloud moon about Victor Wembanyama. But the question that we got was... So, since becoming a bigger basketball fan, I've been hearing more about large market versus small market teams. Can y'all... Ooh, definitely from Texas. Can y'all explain a bit about the factors that decide market size? For instance, I know that my beloved San Antonio Spurs are considered a small market team, but I don't understand why, given how San Antonio is the 7th most populous city in the U.S. I think it's a pretty straightforward answer here. It really just comes down to how much money they spend and what their overall budget is. It has nothing to do with the size of the city itself and everything to do with the money that they spend on players.
Right. And it's usually more about like the money that the market will bring in as a whole. So there's a couple different factors. You will have the size of the city be a factor, but then it is also in terms of like how much media attention they get. Like naturally, the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics and the Chicago Bulls are going to get more media attention just because they are these legacy franchises that have been around for a while and have been good for a while. So that is a factor. And then it's also kind of just sort of the vibe around the team. It's weird because like certain things can change, for example, and certain things can change in a city. Like the Golden State Warriors used to be considered a small market team, but then they got good and Silicon Valley money got poured in. Even when they were in Oakland, now they're in San Francisco, they would be considered a large market team now. Miami's always this weird thing where they're like not, but then they are, but then things kind of changed when LeBron, Wade, and Bosh teamed up to go there. So it's this interesting thing of small market versus big market, like not having hard and fast rules. It's usually just kind of like a vibe check. And it's basically like, are you in a glitzy, glamoury city or not, is usually what it comes down to. And oftentimes the owner of the team usually goes along with the city. Like the Los Angeles Clippers are now owned by Steve Ballmer, who puts in a ton of money into the team in terms of like paying for the contracts. And now they're building a new arena and stuff like that. And usually the teams that are in those fancier cities cost more to buy because they generate more money in terms of like TV deals and jersey sales and stuff like that. And then usually if you want to buy those teams, you have to have more money. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing. But yeah, the easiest answer is vibes.
Yeah, that's a really good point about viewership and TV deals. I actually found an article from hoopsocial.com that lists the 2022 NBA market size rankings, and it lists them in order of how large the TV market size is. So large NBA markets are considered over 2 million homes. Medium markets are between 1.5 and 2 million homes. And then small market teams are, including the San Antonio Spurs, are less than 1.5 million homes. Just off the top of your head, what would you guess is the biggest market, or like the top few markets? Because I feel like it kind of lined up with what I thought it was.
Got to be New York, just because population density and just not a lot of teams in the area aside from New York. I would say the Los Angeles ones as well. Mm-hmm. Lakers, maybe Clippers, but like definitely Lakers. I'd say Bulls. I would give it to the Heat. I would call them a big market, especially because there's no income tax. So that's always a big pull for the players to go there. And then definitely the Warriors.
This is just in terms of like TV market size. So you were right. So number one, it's the Knicks and Nets, and that market, which includes a metro population of almost 20 million people. And the TV market size is 7.4 million. Then the Lakers and Clippers, then the Bulls. The Mavericks are actually number 5, which I think is kind of interesting. I mean, I guess Dallas is kind of a large area. But yeah, San Antonio is listed at 24th overall at a little over 1 million for the TV market size. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I wonder what Ginger Spurs Boys' metric was for largest city. San Antonio might be like size largest, but population density, I would not guess it would be a top 7 city in the US. So I think that's probably a factor, is like number of people is a factor. Yeah. And like New York City, for example, just in the top half of Manhattan, so the top half of one of the boroughs of New York, there's more people there than there is in all of North Dakota. Yeah. So that's cool. And that's normal as to why we have the same amount of senators, or by that, I mean more in the other state. Let's keep it about basketball.
Tell you what, though, Wemby's money is going to go a lot farther in San Antonio than it would have in New York.
That is true. Save that tax money. He will be living large. He's going to be fine. He's going to have so much money. He's going to be really good at basketball.
Yeah, I hope so. But I would think like LeBron, he already has or is going to have a shoe deal before he even plays the game.
Oh, yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be totally fine. They'll all be fighting for him if they haven't already had that fight already. The only other thing I will say with markets, big market, small market, doesn't matter in terms of the championship equity. The Nuggets are a small market team and they won. The Bucks are a small market team. They won recently. The Raptors, I would consider them small market. They won recently. Like, you don't have to be a large market team. It really just comes down to like the owner appetite, because now, especially with the new CBA, there's all these penalties if you pay a bunch. That's the kind of thing where it's like, is it going to be okay? Is this owner going to be comfortable paying the money to afford the team? And that can be a factor. Now, with MBQ&A complete, let's get into full court press. Get it? Like the news?
Let's do it. And news there has been.
Oh, there is so much news. Now, I did post a 10-minute thing of me just rambling about the news that happened solely in between when we recorded last and posted last. So if you want to hear anything in more extended terms, in terms of like the John Morant stuff and the Bradley Beal stuff, you can go to the Patreon and check it out there. It's available for all patrons $5 and above. But let's talk about the other news as much as we can get into, because boy, oh boy, there's so much news. There's a lot of stuff. Let's get the John Morant stuff out of the way so we can talk about fun things. Yeah. John Morant, we had talked about him in the past, his most recent gun-related issue where he was on a friend's Instagram Live and he showed the gun. He got a 25-game suspension, which I think probably makes sense given what we've seen in the past. Gilbert Arenas got 50 games for actually bringing a gun into the locker room. And then John Morant got it for posting it on Instagram. And then Adam Silver was interviewed about it, and he said that some of the factors were that this was a repeat offense and that they want to set him straight, kind of stuff like that, where like it wasn't just the act of him posting a gun video on Instagram Live, but more of it's becoming an issue. It's something that they don't want to get any worse, where it gets actually dangerous and stuff like that. So they seem to have like taken more into account. But I don't know. I think it's fine. I think it's, again, not what you want from a star player. So hopefully he will learn and not do this stuff again, because it's just wholly unnecessary and above all else.
Just surround yourself with better people, with people who care about you and about your livelihood. And frankly, you'd think that even if it were people who had ulterior motives and wanted to mooch off of John Morant, they would be smart enough to know that this is not a good way to do it because it's costing him a ton of money. And I don't know exactly what the status is in terms of his sponsorships with shoe brands and Powerade and all that stuff, but it's not helping.
And even his friend who's doing the video, he hid the camera once Job pulled out the gun. So like even some of his friends are trying to help him out. So hopefully this can just be a thing of the past and a blip on the radar of his career and not like a defining characteristic. So
yes,
that's the John Morant stuff. But that aside, there were a whole bunch of trades that were going on and went on before the draft. First off, Bradley Beal got traded to the Phoenix Suns for just like a bunch of second-round picks and first-round pick swaps, which is when you can trade positions for the pick if you want to, if the other team has a better pick than you. The reason that this was the trade is that Bradley Beal had a no trade clause, which is a very rare thing that exists in contracts, but some players will be given a no trade clause, which is basically if a team wants to trade you to a team, you can say no unless it's a team you like, effectively getting to determine what potential teams you get traded to. And Bradley Beal said, hey, the Suns have good players. Can I go to the Suns? I'll say no to everyone else. And it seemed like it was only going to be the Suns or the Heat, and the Suns won out. And now he's a member of the Phoenix Suns. And part of that trade was Chris Paul. And Chris Paul got traded to the Wizards, where Bradley Beal used to play. And then the Wizards traded Chris Paul to the Golden State Warriors. So all of this now has Bradley Beal on the Suns and Chris Paul on the Warriors. Veterans going to good teams, and it'll be spicy.
But the Suns now have a starting lineup that has Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton.
Yes, they have a lot of offensive firepower. Defense, not exactly there. And they don't really have a point guard anymore because they traded Landry Shamet in the trade as well, and Chris Paul, who were their 2 point guards. Well, I guess they do have Cam Payne, Bulls legend.
Yeah.
So they've got some stuff, and I guess Devin Booker will kind of be the point guard, kind of like James Harden was with the Rockets. So it should be okay. But I don't know. It's a good team, but they don't have.
There's still time. There's still time for them to acquire someone.
That's the thing. That's where
maybe D Rose.
And yep, he's not on the Knicks anymore, which will be fine. I don't care. I don't want to have to pretend to like him. So I think it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, now that we have some of the powerhouse teams, which teams are going to get the old guys who are ring chasing and who wants to go, because they can go to the Nuggets, they can go to the Suns, they can go to the Warriors. There's a couple of high profile teams to join, and I wonder where some of those folks will end up and if they will contribute in meaningful ways. But yeah, Chris Paul on the Warriors is going to be interesting. I had a thought that a lot of other people had. Just him and Draymond Green on the same team. Chaotic. Draymond Green is not technically a member of the Warriors yet because he is an unrestricted free agent, so he can sign with other teams. Most likely he'll probably be back on the Warriors. But if you are an NBA referee or a player's private groin area, I would be afraid of the Warriors, because if there's anything that Chris Paul and Draymond Green share a history of, it's yelling at referees and hitting dudes in the nads. And it's going to be an interesting game anytime you play the Warriors.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about, and maybe you did this on the Patreon, but Marcus Smart no longer on the Celtics. We've got Kristaps Porzingis has been traded to the Celtics. What did you think of that move?
That was very surprising. Very, very surprising. I'm glad that Porzingis is not on the Knicks, because there were rumblings of him coming back, and that could have just been a mess. He used to be on the team. He broke my heart. He's now apologized for his foolish ways, but like, I'm sorry, dude. But him being on the Celtics, it's funny because he got traded to them. He didn't pick it, but I'm still like, oh, you're on Boston now? Fuck you, dude. Like, it makes me even angrier. But the Marcus Smart thing is very surprising, because Marcus Smart is like the heart and soul of the Celtics.
I feel the same way,
He's a fan favorite player. He dyes his hair green. Like, he's been on the Celtics for so many years. I think it just came down to the Celtics had other people that they wanted to trade, most namely Malcolm Brogdon, and they tried to do a trade with Malcolm Brogdon, but then the Clippers got his medical records and said, ew, gross, and they canceled the trade before it was official. So I think it was just a matter of like, he's the only guy that they could trade, and now Marcus Smart is on the Grizzlies, who were in need of a point guard for at least 25 games, so they made the trade for Marcus Smart. I wonder if he's going to dye his hair like that teal that is the Memphis Grizzly color. We'll have to see. Maybe his green will kind of naturally fade into that color anyway, and we won't have to do anything.
I feel like that must have been a real gut punch for him, because I totally agree. Like, he truly embodies what the Celtics seem to stand for and what they care about, and somebody who like really wants to be on that team specifically. So I guess it would have to be the finals, but wouldn't it be interesting if there were ever a Grizzlies Celtics finals? Because I feel like he would take it personally, a la Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he was quoted as saying that he was blindsided by it. He didn't see it coming. And the Celtics have a bit of a history of doing this, which is an interesting dynamic that you'll see some teams either embrace or reject. Some teams want to be perceived as the team that does right by certain players, and they will do things like sign people to contracts even if they're not contributing. Look at Udonis Haslem on the Heat. Look at some of the contracts that the Mavericks gave to Dirk Nowitzki when he was later in his career, or the Lakers did to Kobe, where, you know, you pay more than you should for someone that means more to the team from like a sentimental value.
Right.
But on the flip side, the Celtics have traded beloved figures or figures that like gave a lot to the team. Famously, this happened when they had Isaiah Thomas, the good Isaiah Thomas, who has the extra A in his name and is short and good at basketball and doesn't sexually assault women. Isaiah Thomas was on the Celtics, and he like came back early from injury and then re-injured himself in the playoffs, and his career was never the same. And then the Celtics traded him that offseason. And then now you see the Celtics doing this again, but with Marcus Smart, slightly different circumstances, but you just see the Celtics being like very cold and calculated, much like me when I'm a general manager on NBA 2K, the video game. But like, that's a video game. It's okay. I'm not going to hear from the fans. So it's a little different. So for the Celtics to do this twice now, it's one of those things where, you know, if you're a big free agent and you're trying to sign this big contract, do you think twice about being with the Celtics? Because at a certain point, and this becomes a factor when you're older in your career, at a certain point, players try to either stay with the same team or at least in the same area because your kids are older, your kids are in high school. Like Chris Paul didn't want to play for any other team that wasn't in the West Coast. That's why he went from the Clippers to the Suns, now back to the Warriors. Like, you don't want to be far away from your family. So like, if you are thinking of what team you want to go to, do you really want to like set up shop in Boston? Because what if they ship you away when they deem you unnecessary? So it's very interesting that they traded him.
Yeah. I've heard of people being shipped up to Boston, but they're shipping people out of Boston.
But yeah, I was super surprised, as was the NBA world. I'm sure Celtics fans are displeased, but I don't really associate with many of those people.
No. But yeah, I do think Marcus Smart is very synonymous with the Celtics in my mind. It was the most shocking trade I can recall since DeMar DeRozan was traded from the Raptors in the Kawhi Leonard trade, because he was like Mr. Toronto. And he's spoken about how heartbreaking that was for him. And obviously it worked out for the Raptors. They won a championship. They got a better player. But I think that people forget sometimes the human element of the game, and that people get attached to a certain place in a certain city. And I felt kind of bad for Marcus Smart, honestly. I feel like, what more could you do to prove to a team that you belong somewhere?
Yeah. And the difference between those situations is yes, it was sad for Toronto fans to see DeMar DeRozan go, but you got Kawhi Leonard at peak Kawhi Leonard
way better
time.
than Kristaps
Porzingis and 2 first-round picks from the Grizzlies. Like, it logistically makes sense in terms of their team. Like, they needed a stretch wing, and then they need rookies because they're about to give Jaylen Brown a bunch of money, and sometimes the best way to fill out your roster is with rookie contracts because they are the least expensive and they don't count against the cap in the same way as signing players do. So like from a sensical standpoint, it did make a lot of logical sense. But yeah, the heart is just not there. And the return is like, okay, so it's this guy who's okay, had a good year last year, but has injury history, and then 2 teenagers? Like, okay, for Marcus Smart, my favorite player? ?
Yeah.
You know, that's the saddening thing of it. Now, the NBA draft also happened. I don't know that there's too much to discuss there because it wasn't like the spiciest. Are there particular things for the draft that you wanted to bring up?
I mean, this isn't dramatic, but I think it's incredibly cool that twin brothers got drafted 4th and 5th. Like, that's just an amazing story.
Uncool, though, as we talked about in our group chat, both of their middle names are XLNC, but spelled all caps XLNC.
It does make me wonder the kind of parents they have when you like put that on your kids.
Here's the question, though. XLNC is also an interesting middle name. Fine. What is the purpose of spelling it that way? Like, what does that accomplish? Why do you have to act like you're the newest model of Mazda? Like the Mazda XL, like why do you have to spell it that way? You're a human being. You like, are they saving on character counts? I don't get it.
I do not have that answer for you, but it was still cool that they were drafted back to back.
Yes, it was.
Amen Thompson went to the Rockets 4th overall, and is it Osser?
I do not know because I do not watch college basketball. Yeah. I will learn it once they start saying his name in NBA games.
One funny note. So obviously the Spurs drafted Victor Wembanyama 1st overall, which was a shock to no one. Did you see his first pitch of the Yankee game, by the way? Wembanyama?
Oh, it was really bad.
Terrible. But then again, like it's probably like us holding a golf ball and trying to pitch it. Like his hands are so... When he shook Adam Silver's hands, it looks like if you or I held like a 5-year-old's hand.
Yeah, or if I had one of the little baby hands, like these little guys.
Oh, like Kristen Wiig?
Just a little... Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Silver.
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to mention that I thought was really funny was that the number 2 overall pick, Brandon Miller, who played at college ball at Alabama, he went to the Hornets. But he was interviewed before the draft, and he was he made news because they asked him like, "Oh, LeBron or Jordan for your GOAT pick," and he was like, "Neither, Paul George," which is such an interesting choice. That's not to say that Paul George isn't great, but he's no one's GOAT. He's never been anyone's GOAT.
No, not really. I wonder, was Brandon Miller trying to not get drafted by the Hornets? Because he said 2 things against Michael Jordan before the draft. Michael Jordan, who used to own the Hornets, but is selling them, but hasn't finalized it yet, but still had say over who they drafted. It's weird. He's in the process of selling the Hornets. And I wonder if Brandon Miller was trying to go number 3. I mean, look, if I had to choose between the Hornets and getting to be Damian Lillard's teammate, because number 3 was the Blazers, I would also say mean things about Michael Jordan in hopes that he took it personally and didn't draft me.
Listen, if that was Brandon Miller's plan, he should have said that his GOAT is Scottie Pippen.
Oh, that would have been good. Yeah, also with Brandon Miller, I do think it's important to bring this up, and it wasn't brought up enough in the draft coverage. He gave a gun to someone who used the gun and then murdered someone. Like, I think that should be brought up more in the draft coverage. And Malika Andrews brought it up at one point, like, oh, he was under fire because he brought a gun to someone who then that night used it to kill somebody. And then people are like, oh, why don't you just like leave that out of this? Like, I don't know. That's an incredibly relevant conversation to have. Like, a big thing with drafts is always like, oh, are these guys good character guys? I think they're going to have a good attitude. Like, I don't think this guy showed examples of good decision making. So I think it's super normal and should be talked about more. It was weird how much you're like, yeah, Brandon Miller, will he be a good fit? Like, Brandon Miller helped facilitate a murder. Can we please bring that up more? Like, that's wild that it was so swept under the rug just because this guy's good at basketball.
Yeah, I'm looking at this now. I didn't know a lot about it. I mean, he was never charged for it, which is not to say that it didn't happen.
Yeah. The thing that I have heard from it, because I read about it when the draft was going along, was that he had somebody else's gun, like his teammate on Alabama, and then that guy texted him like late at night saying like, hey, can you give me the gun back? And then he dropped off the gun with this dude who was drunk, and then that dude shot a single mother And that guy is now like in trouble and stuff. And then they brought this Brandon Miller to trial or whatever, and he was not found guilty. But like, regardless, that's poor decision making. Like, maybe don't give a weapon to a guy who's drunk and potentially angry at midnight. I don't know, man. So I think it's whack that was not really covered a lot in the draft. I just hate the world where it's like, oh, this guy's good at basketball, so we don't have to really talk about any like personal stuff. And there's too much of that.
Well, look at Miles Bridges. I mean,
he's thankfully still out of the league.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very pleasantly surprised he has not found his way back onto a team, given that like apparently if you have domestic abuse, you can be a coach of the NBA. 3 out of the coaches are domestic abusers. So 10% of coaches have a domestic abuse history. Super fun. So it was disappointing in the draft coverage that they were just like, yeah, he's a basketball fit. Like, Yeah.
Yeah. So him thinking Paul George is the GOAT is not
Let
the
Paul
worst
George
thing.
be his GOAT.
Yeah. There you go.
Also, poor decision making. Like, there's many factors.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not going to worry about his performance if he doesn't do well. Oh, man. I'm not rooting for him. I'll root for Scoot Henderson, who has a cool name. Scoot Henderson is a cool name.
It's true. And he gets to play with Dame.
He does get to play with Dame as long as Dame stays on the Blazers. That's a whole thing that we will probably be talking about in future Full Court presses. It's like, there's all this hubbub and rumors of, is Dame going to stay? Is he going to ask for a trade? Are they going to try to trade? There were all the rumors of, will they trade the 3rd pick and blah, 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 blah. So there's going to be a lot of Blazers scuttlebutt up until, like, it's going to be, if you're a Blazers fan, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry for you right now, because it's just going to be constant rumors and drama and speculation and Brian Windhorse finger wagging and all sorts of stuff. It's not the most relaxing time to be a Blazers fan, I would say.
Yeah, it is not. But there was one more bit of news. Did you get a chance to look it up?
I did, but you're more well-versed in it, so please, this is the perfect happy palate cleanser note to discuss, because it's very interesting in a fun question marky way.
Exactly. So A'ja Wilson, who is a star WNBA player who plays for the Las Vegas Aces, she was tweeted at recently by Mikal Bridges, who plays for the Brooklyn Nets. Let me get the story straight here. So Mikal Bridges tweeted at A'ja Wilson and tagged her and said, "When's the next game? ? And Wilson quote tweeted it and said, "Please leave me alone. We cool over here." So just really put it to bed. And this was preceded by a tweet where A'ja Wilson said, "LMAO, hell, these weird guys about to be in my mentions." Upset emoji, barf emoji.
Yes, I think that was afterwards. So
Yeah.
she tweeted a thing kind of making fun of Mikal Bridges, and then she was like, oh no, a bunch of NBA fans who like either Mikal or the Nets or both are going to be mad that I shot down his attempt, which to my read seemed like a joking attempt. Like, I think they're friends. Like, I think this was like a joke sort of thing.
I
the
think
Nets
so too,
and the
yeah.
Liberty are owned by the same ownership group, so I'm sure there's lots of crossover between. Mikal Bridges was at, I think, the Liberty versus Aces game, and I think that's what he was tweeting about, like, after that game, asking A'ja when the next game is. So I think they're friends. Like, I don't think this is, a genuine thing where she's like, ew, gross. I think she's messing with him, which then begs the question, is she actually flirting with him? Like, it's always like, Well,
I'm going to send you this, which is really funny. So I guess earlier in the year, Mikal Bridges had tweeted at her, "What's up, bestie?" and tagged her.
Mhm.
And then she responded, "Did you mean to at me? ? Upside down, Spanish ? With a really funny
The
gif.
fact that she had the 4 upside down question marks is really, really good. And then I think, didn't she also tweet something in this most recent one where he asked when the schedule was? Didn't she tweet something to the effect of like, just Google it or something?
I don't
Which
know.
I think is
The whole thing was
funny
very
because
funny.
he totally could have done it.
But my favorite response to it in the whole thread was that somebody had replied with this clip of Patrick Ewing from when he was a coach at Georgetown. I don't know if you've seen this clip before, but it was just Patrick Ewing talking to one of his players, and he's like, "Have you shot that shot before? Where did that shot come from? Have you ever shot that shot before?" It was a perfect response to Mikal Bridges jokingly or seriously shooting his shot. So
I like it. I'm all here for it. I love NBA and WNBA crossover. It's really fun to see how much the players from each league like each other and respect each other. And it's cool when NBA players talk about how good WNBA players are and how fun the games are, because it is. And it's really nice because, as A'ja tweeted about, there's just so many weird reply guys out there that are like so hell-bent on just really replying nasty things to anything that ESPN or any news sports outlet will post about the WNBA. It's like, you don't have to reply stuff. And I got into like weird stuff when Sue Bird's jersey retirement thing was going on. Megan Rapinoe, her fiance, said something in the speech, being hyperbolic, said like, congratulations, Sue, on having arguably the greatest career out of any athlete. And of course, Bleacher Report, to try and get engagement, like posted a clip of that. And then everyone in the comments was arguing like, oh, this is a ridiculous thing to say. It's like, Megan's her fiance and she's at her jersey retirement thing and she's going to say nice things about her. Like, it doesn't matter. We don't have to be like, oh, well, if you look at Sue's points per game, like, oh my gosh, shut up. It's so stupid.
Well, it's always funny the twists and turns those take where like somebody will jump in and be like, it's obviously Michael Jordan. What are you talking about? And then someone comes out of left field and they're like, it's clearly Michael Phelps. And like, we're not going to get anywhere with this conversation.
It's just so pointless. Why can't we just appreciate people who are good at stuff and not try to like make these comparisons that don't make any sense? Like the NBA and the WNBA, like the scoring averages are different. And in certain sport, like even within basketball, it's like the games aren't the same length and there's not as many games in the season. It's so stupid. Why can't we just like people who are good? So when NBA and WNBA has good crossovers and stuff, I like it. And you know what? If Mikal and A'ja Wilson start dating, whew, that'd be fun.
Sure.
It'd be really fun. Come on. It'd be good.
Also, that sentence worked in more ways than one. You're like, when the NBA and WNBA have crossovers, I like it. Also true in terms of the move, the crossover.
It's good. It's good. Let's get more crossover content. There should be more NBA and WNBA stuff like together at the All-Star game, like they used to do. They used to do that Shooting Stars thing where they had one NBA player, one WNBA player, and one legend, like an old person, like Dominique Wilkins or whatever, and then they would compete in little like shooting things. That's fun. Do more of that. Let's get like mixed doubles in tennis, but NBA. Like, let's get 2-on-2. Give me like Kelsey Plum and Steph Curry against Breanna Stewart and, you know, Klay Thompson. Like, come on. It'd be fun. It'd be really fun.
I totally agree. Also, quick note before we wrap this up here for Full Court Press. I know you hate pickleball, as do I.
I do. I hate it with all my heart.
And Celia, my girlfriend, I've been talking to her about pickleball as I continue to complain about it. And she sent me an article from Forbes this morning that's titled, Pickleball Injuries Cost Americans Nearly $400 Million This Year, and Seniors Are Hit the Hardest. So it's not that safe after all. I'm spreading anti-pickleball propaganda on the podcast. Just play tennis if you're going to get hurt anyway.
Here's my rule. If you've not had any sort of surgery to your lower extremities, play tennis. If you've got knee stuff, you've got ankle stuff, go for it. But like, all this is to say, if people are playing pickleball, cool. But when it's like, when it's becoming the new like brunch activity for people in their 20s, like just play tennis. Just play tennis.
If I show up to the tennis court and I have my tennis equipment with me and you are playing pickleball, I get to use the tennis court. I'm not going to just let you play beer pong on my ping pong table when I'm here to play ping pong. If I'm not using it, you can use it.
That's my biggest concern, because one of my buddies, Eric Schneider, I was in Cleveland with him and people were playing pickleball on tennis courts and I was angry. And he was like, what's the deal? And I was like, we're just afraid that they're going to get rid of tennis courts because you can play pickleball on less room. So I'm just afraid that tennis courts are going to get converted into pickleball courts and then I won't actually be able to play tennis. And there's already like not that many tennis courts out there in parks. So I'm just like preemptively freaking out about a tennisless world.
I don't think it's an overstatement to say it's an epidemic.
It's not ideal. Look, and we've had a problem with it. Come on. Like, we know how bad pandemics can be. But like, to put it in basketball terms, it would be like if people started acting like knockout was a different sport. And it's like, oh, do you want to play free throws? Like, that's a warm up for the sport. Come on.
It's true. But in fairness, you and I, we get to interrupt any pickup game to play horse whenever we want because we have that privilege.
Oh, well, that's because we host this podcast. But speaking of this podcast, that concludes Full Court Press Get It Like the News. And now we can get into what will close out this episode, which is a very fun interview with a Denver Nuggets fan. You want to talk a little bit about that and tee it up, Adam?
Yes, absolutely. So this is an interview with a comic that I met for the first time a couple months ago. He featured for me, which if you don't know stand-up terminology, that means like he was the comic before me when I was headlining at a club out in Boulder, Colorado. Really nice guy. Huge Nuggets fan. I was out there during the semifinals and he was all jacked up and jazzed about the Nuggets. It ended up happening for him. And much like our previous guest, James Hamilton, he was psyched. He got to go to the parade. So we talked to him a little bit about his life as a Nuggets fan and also what it was like to see some very intoxicated Nuggets players at the parade and much more. So here it is. All right. So as previously mentioned, we have a very special interview with a friend of mine and someone who was at the Denver Nuggets championship parade. I met this dude a couple months ago. He featured for me at a little comedy club out there in Boulder, Colorado. He and I are both half Indian. We both look Mexican. It's a very confusing thing for both of us, honestly, but really, really great dude, really funny comic out there in Colorado, and a huge Nuggets fan who is pretty damn happy right now, I would imagine. Thad B, everybody. What up, Thad?
Extremely happy. You could say extremely happy. Happiest I've ever been, actually. You could say that. Happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Not a problem. Happy to have you.
Of course. Now, yeah, when you and I met, it was during the conference finals. You were stressed out because if it had gone to maybe it was a previous series, but either way, it was like if it had gone to a game 7, you wouldn't have been able to watch because of Mother's Day, and you were like, this is not going to be a good situation for me.
That was the the
Phoenix
finals against Phoenix. And that was the toughest series for the Nuggets by far. We won 2, they won 2. It was tied up at one point. I was freaking out. The other thing is I had all of this money that I put down on the Nuggets. I went through like the biggest financial crisis of my life. And then I put this money on the Nuggets to win like back in February. So that's like 4 or 5 months before.
Yeah.
And just out on a whim. So I really needed bet to hit. So it was bigger. It was bigger than just like the city of Denver for me. Like it's bigger than just like Colorado getting something. It was more like, hey, I got to pay rent. You know what I mean? So you could tell I was stressed for sure. I was going. I was going.
So to all our young listeners, if you ever find yourself in a tough financial situation, just put a ton of money on a long shot. I want to be clear that we're joking, but we are glad that it worked out for Thad in this case.
I wouldn't say it was a long shot bet either, because like I knew once it was about halfway through the season, I was like, the Nuggets are playing better than they've played in the past like 4 seasons, and they've been good in the past 4 seasons. So I was like, if it doesn't happen this year, I don't know what year it's going to be. So I kind of just was like, I'm shooting it now.
I totally get it. I had free money to bet with from when New York City did its whole legalizing gambling thing. So I had money to play with. And just early on in October, I was like, I'm going to throw on $5 on the Nuggets to win. And that netted me $85.
Hey, man, $85 is $85. Though.
I'll take it for just $5 of like, what if the Nuggets win? Well, they look good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that is super cool. Now, you were at the parade itself.
Yes, I was.
What was it like? How much fun was it? Was the city electric for it? How was it all?
Dude, it was insane. So the mayor got on stage and said something about 1 million people being there, which kind of blew my mind. I was like, there's no way there's 1 million people. And then I saw that it was somewhere between 750,000 and 1 million Nuggets fans showed up that day. And that's the part that blew my mind. And the coolest part of the parade was they did like all the intros. So they did the actual parade, and then they get to the Civic Center in Cap Hill, and they like introduce all the players and the staff, and they introduced Jokić last, and all the dude said was from Zambia, Serbia, and then every single person there started chanting MVP at the same time. And it was like the most electric feeling in the world, just 1 million people riding that dude's dick, dude. That's what it was. That's really what it was.
You know, I think that's the most eloquent way anybody could have said it. I think I get it.
I mean, it's exactly what it was. People were drunk. They had a rave before like the parade. And so people were like taking drugs at like 8 in the morning. God. Yeah. And I was like,
it is Colorado. I feel like Colorado is that kind of vibes.
It was very Denver. I'll say that. Yeah. There were people that showed up just for the rave and then just left. And I was like, you just got a free concert at 9 in the morning. Like, good for you. But
was it on a weekday or a weekend?
It was Thursday. Yeah. It was Thursday morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look, that's one way to start your day. I've been fortunate enough. I was lucky enough to attend one championship parade. I happened to be living and working in Oakland that first Warriors win of the dynasty, back when it was still cool to root for them and not feel like a terrible person. And the Knicks were actively tanking, so I was invested. I went to a bunch of games, and I was lucky enough to go because I was an engineer, and I switched from day shifts to night shifts that day, and it was on a Friday morning, and I got to go. My boss was like, brought me in the office Thursday. He's like, Mike, I'm really sorry. Like, somebody's got to work the night shifts, and you know, I think it just makes the most sense for you. And I was like, oh yeah, knowing full well I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I get to go to the championship parade.
I had to switch all my shifts around, dude. But I told my manager, I was like, listen, I couldn't afford any of the finals games, so like I have to go to this one. And the funny part is 1 million people called off of work that day.
Right.
I mean, I wonder what like the economics of Denver were like. Like, was there a dip? Because that's a ton of people. I mean, you think of like the stadium, they host like what, 20,000 people max in that arena?
Yeah, I want to say probably a little bit north of that, like 25, 30-ish maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're getting 1 million people to celebrate, that just shows you how much the city loves it. And that's the Nuggets' first championship.
Ever.
Did you get emotional? Were you, tears streaming down?
Oh, yeah. So my original plan was to request every single night off for the finals because I wanted to watch them. But then I got scheduled game 5 and I was closing that night. So I turned it on the TV at work, and I remember the game ended like right at 9, and we leave work at 9. So then I just told everybody else, I was like, hey, you guys can go, but I'm just going to stick around for a little bit. And as soon as everybody left, like I started tearing up a little bit. I was just like, it happened, man. It happened. It was a crazy feeling. It's like, it was hard to believe that it happened. Also, knowingly, I knew it was going to happen. You know what I mean? Because I was like, like I said earlier, like it's the best team the Nuggets have seen ever. Like with Jamal Murray, Jokić, literally even like the bench players came in clutch. Like it's just a great team. So I knew it was going to happen. But when like the final horn buzzed, and it was surreal. Just like knowing that I've waited since 2003 for this to happen.
Was there any part of you during the series that was nervous? Like after the Heat won game 2, were you concerned at all or not really?
No, I definitely got nervous, especially after seeing the Heat's whole run through the playoffs. They just beat the crap out of everybody. And whether it was a comeback or whether it was just them playing team ball too, it was just like, once they won, it was the second game they won, right? Mm-hmm. Once they won the second game, it was tied up. I was like, we got to be on our shit when we go to Miami. We got to, especially leaving home too. I think people forget about that too. Like home court advantage is such a big deal, especially when it comes to playoffs. And I think that's also what made the Nuggets so good is they tried harder than every other team in the regular season to actually like get that in the West so they could have that advantage in the playoffs. Like you don't see that a lot.
It is a bigger advantage for Denver than any other team, arguably, right? Like, I think you and I were talking about the fact that in going to games for as long as you have, like, you've barely seen the Nuggets lose at home, even in seasons when they're not that good. Like, they always have a really good home record because of the altitude. And
I think Miami, when they beat them in the finals, was the only team that did beat them in Denver.
Yes,
this
playoff run, they were the only team to win a game in Denver the whole playoff run, which is wild.
Which also scared me like crazy because they did that, and I was like, nobody's done this yet. This is scary.
That's always the worst. Any sort of sport. They do this in baseball a lot to get a baseball reference in, but it's always like the Yankees are pitching, my favorite team, and it's like batters are 0-6,000 against this guy on Tuesdays in September, and then the guy hits a grand slam. Like it's always that. So they're
like, he broke the curse. What?
So at the parade, like where were you exactly? Like, could you see anything? Were you so far away that you're like looking at a monitor or something?
So we got there. I actually didn't watch the actual parade at all. We went straight to the Civic Center where they were going to do the speeches and stuff. Right. We wanted a good spot. We got there at 8:30 and they didn't get on stage till 12. So we were there pretty early, but people were like camping out. So we still weren't like in the front at all. We were kind of like middle, and literally in like the middle of everybody. Like we weren't close to the side or anything. We were just in the middle of everybody. And to be honest, it kind of sucked for a while because we were just standing there. It was supposed to rain, so we bundled up, and then it was just bright, sunny skies. So everybody was just sweating their ass off. And then you pack 1 million people into that place. People are pushing and shoving. There's no air going around. So people were like throwing up from heat exhaustion at some points and like having to leave like where they were. And whenever they left, I was like, they're not getting back in here. So I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, hey, we can't move for like 4 hours. We have to stay right here. But it was a pretty good spot. You could see the players. They were very miniature. There was a billboard like in plain sight or like a screen that we could see them on. So we just watched on there. And
people must have gone bonkers when Jokić said the thing about like, I'm glad I'm at the parade or whatever he said.
Yeah, dude. People started throwing beer and champagne everywhere. I'm like, dude, it's funny because I had to go to work after that. Like, people are drinking and doing all these drugs. Yeah, and I'm like, hey, I got to show up to work. Like, I told my manager too, I was like, if I show up a little bit tipsy, you can't be upset. Okay. The Nuggets just won for the first time in 47 years. But it was the energy there was just insane. I'm glad it was a nice day and that it wasn't raining because it would have kind of sucked for everybody else. But
well, it's Denver, so like it could have been beautiful or it could have been snowing. So you never
know what's going to
happen. I saw footage of Red Rocks the other day where it was like hailing golf balls.
Yeah, dude.
It's very strange.
Yeah. And we've been getting so much rain too, so it's kind of like a perfect day for that to happen, for the parade to happen. Like there was no rain or anything. It was just beautiful all day.
I'm glad it wasn't just me because I felt like it was weird when I came out for that weekend and it rained every single day. I was like, this is not how I remember Denver being. But
not at all, man. I don't know what's happening. Global warming. It's got to be real. I don't know.
I think so. Now, or I don't know if there's any other Nuggets tidbits you want to share, but in the spirit of this show, which is like, it's about basketball, but kind of amorphously, that I'm going to put you on the spot. I need you to tell the people about the mixtape you put out when you were in high school. The Hoops mixtape.
The Hoop mixtape. Man, okay. I did not think that was going to blow up like it did. So I was terrible at basketball in high school. I was like god awful. Like the kid that sits on the bench.
You're still on the team. You couldn't have been that bad.
I was just an energy guy. And then I put this whole video together because I thought it'd be funny just for me and my friends. And it was just a bunch of clips of me sitting on the bench celebrating and then like me going in the game, just being god awful, just being bad. And then I posted it on Twitter and then I woke up the next morning and it had like 3,000 retweets on it. And I was like, there were like D3 colleges retweeting it. I was like, I'm actually going to get an offer out of this. Like that's crazy. But yeah, I ended up going viral for how bad I was at basketball. Yeah.
He got a free ride to be a statistician.
Fantastic. Did an offer come in? Did anyone email you? Because I was just like, by nature of being on a high school basketball team, I and everyone else on the team, we got emails from, what is it? Is it either Caltech or Cal Poly? Some like basketball team where they like set the record for most games lost consecutively. Like they're at the time when they emailed me, they were like 0-96 or something.
But they should have emailed me if they wanted to keep that record.
Thad got an offer to play 2K at University of Phoenix online.
Yeah. Actually, just a community college in Phoenix, but they didn't even have a basketball team. No, I mean, there were like schools that followed me after that, but nobody ever like reached out and said anything. That was it.
Well, we'll definitely be sharing that video because I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Please do.
It's not HD, but that makes it even better.
It's on Twitter somewhere.
Well, it's funny because it's a thing now where like if you're a good bench guy, you can be on a team. You can be on the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals.
You're
like
a glue
Udonis
guy.
Haslam, you're just a good locker room presence.
You need an energy guy. You bring the people. People get pissed off because they're missing shots or something. You'd be like, hey man, you want some Skittles? Because that's all I'm doing on the bench right now. It's just eating these Skittles. There's actually a clip of me in the video eating Skittles too.
Yes, hell yeah. I mean, like Kent Bazemore kind of set the tone for that for the Warriors in the mid 2010s, where it was like he was the first like towel waving hype guy, man. And then it became a thing where like now you have Theo Pinson who was on the Knicks and now the Mavericks. Like you have these good energy guys where a team's like, yeah, we have 15 people on the team. Why not have one of these guys just like be fun and a good sport and like calm people down when they get angry?
I know Theo Pinson is an energy guy because I've never heard that name in my life. That's how I know he's an energy guy.
Listen, we us Indian or half Indian people, we're still waiting for our Jeremy Lin. So I'm disappointed that it wasn't you or me, but it'll happen one day.
There was a big guy.
And the Kings.
Oh, Bhullar, baby.
Yeah. Is that who I'm thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
He played. He had like a 10-day or something.
I think he was on the Kings for a little bit, and I think he just won some tournament overseas. I just saw some highlight where it was like Bhullar, whatever league champion. Like, he's making it happen, just not in the NBA.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they're doing that everywhere. But
he was a big man. I think he was like 7'2", 350 pounds or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like gigantic.
I'm thinking
person.
of the big guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also
that's him.
rare for Indians, so good for him.
That's true. That's true.
Most of the time they're short and skinny like me. So.
Now, one insight I did want to know about the parade, because this is always my favorite part of parades. Who was the drunkest and who gave the most incoherent speech when they got up at the podium?
Aaron Gordon seemed pretty lit. He was talking about his Modelos.
Dude, Coach Mike Malone, baby.
I thought it was okay. I'm glad Malone was enjoying it.
He was on. Do you see that picture of him running up to a little kid and just screaming in his face?
I didn't see that. I saw him holding up the big fat chain that he got, and I saw that he got a tattoo of that old school Denver Nuggets minor logo, but he's holding a championship trophy in his hand.
He was lit. But I saw a whole bunch of different videos of him just slamming fireball shooters like on the way there. And then he got there and he was slurring. Like you could watch some of the videos back and you're like, that's not coherent. He was struggling. But then, yeah, Aaron Gordon was pretty lit too. He didn't say anything, I think, for that reason. He didn't like give a speech. They made him get up there and he was just like, go Nuggets. And then just like walked off.
There's a clip of him being interviewed, and the guy's like, "Is it really like hitting you like that? You know that you guys won a championship?" He's like, "I'll tell you what's hitting me: these Modelos."
These Modelos, man. Yeah, man. KCP was pretty turned up. I think Jokić had to be a little bit drunk because
he was smiling, so he had to.
Well, he dropped 2 F-bombs 2 words apart, and I was like, "That's not Jokić. That's not." I'm thinking it was him, but Mike Malone, man, he was just. I love him as a coach too, because he's even without being drunk, he has the best energy in the world, and he's rooting for you. He's a coach that's rooting for you, not like scolding you when you're bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's good to see him work with the team and stuff too.
Yeah, he's such a unique coach. They had the stat up in the finals that he is, I think, one of the only or the most recent example of like a coach who was with the team for 8 years before winning a championship. And it's just something that doesn't happen in the NBA now. Like if you don't get the job done in like 3 or 4 years, you're out the door. So the fact that he's been a part of the team for so long and now brought them to the promised land, it's incredible.
He grew with them for sure too. Because even when Jamal and Jokić weren't like good, like when they were rookies or like second year, they were still good, but they weren't where they're at right now. And it's cool to see, because I remember both of them getting drafted and then just seeing like every single year, they're just like climbing the ladder. And the same thing with Coach Malone too. Like he's figuring out how to use players in different situations and stuff too. So I love the energy in Denver right now. I'm looking forward to the second one next year. I don't want to speak too
I was going to ask, are
Yeah.
you nervous now that you have expectations? Because a lot of ESPN people are like, who's better than the Nuggets? So now is it nerve-wracking?
It didn't help that like literally maybe like 5 minutes after they won, Coach Malone was like, we're not satisfied. We need another one. I'm like, bro, let's
He pulled
celebrate a
LeBron,
little bit.
not 1,
Yeah.
not 2, not 3, not 4.
So I feel like if we don't win, we're going to get so much shit for that. But I honestly, if we keep the same team, which I think we will, and maybe even add like a couple more like role players or trade out a couple different role players, I see us doing it again. Unless some crazy trade happens like LeBron to Dallas or something. I don't see anything else going down that could stop us again. But everybody has to stay healthy too. That's the big thing is like this is the first year that everybody's been healthy through the whole year. And you really got to see that like pay dividend too. You know what I mean? Like Jamal with his knee and then Michael Porter Jr. all through the whole year pretty much. Everybody was good to go. So
Well, I guess the final question is, are you going to take your winnings from that big bet and parlay it onto betting on one of Jokic's horses?
Oh,
don't give him ideas, man.
you may be on to something, dude. I'm getting into horses. Dude, his horse racing's weird though. They got like a carriage. You seen it?
Oh,
Yeah, it's not like regular horse racing.
Someone sits behind.
It's like Ben-Hur or
it's like a
something.
wheeled thing that
Yeah,
drags
yeah.
the person instead of jockeying them
they
around.
go pretty slow.
Jokić would be a terrible jockey. I know his name kind of looks like Jockey, but he's too large.
Yeah.
Other than
Well, that's what,
Bhullar, I couldn't think of a worse jockey.
That's what Ted Alexandro, a New York comic who was on horse many moons ago, he has a joke going around about Jokić where it's like he's treating this title run and championship like it's just his job. And it's this weird thing of like, you know, everyone wishes we could be in the NBA, but we're not 7 feet tall. And he's the reverse where like he's 7 feet tall and wishes he was 5 feet so that he could be a horse jockey.
Dude, if he wanted to get into horse racing, he would have to be the horse. And that wouldn't work out for him. You know what I mean? Dude, it is funny that you bring that up though too. Like I definitely, part of the reason I was so excited for them to win was I was like, Jokić is going to show emotion. And then right after, he's like, I want to go home.
I feel nothing.
Yeah, like I was like, God damn it! Like I was excited for him to be excited, but I mean, you're right. It's just a job to him that he makes millions of dollars at.
Yeah, Mike Malone is emotional enough for the both of them.
But also, I mean, that's the thing of like Jokić just even being happy at the parade is like leaps and bounds for him. Like that shows you how much fun he must have had if he
And how
enjoyed
many
it.
Modelos he must have had.
There was one point at the parade that like fans started swarming the bus that they were on, Like they got around the barricade or something, started swarming the bus. So they literally, you guys saw the pictures. They got him on like an FBI tank, like a SWAT tank. And it was,
I didn't see this.
It's such a cool video. And they probably have a picture of it somewhere too, but it's Jamal Murray, the championship trophy, that like the Larry O'Brien, the MVP trophy, and Jokić all sitting on like a tank, just like with like a bunch of SWAT guards around him. I'm like, that's the hardest shit I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. So I guarantee you he had fun at that parade. He was like, oh, I get an escort? Yeah. Screw my
He finally got to feel like he was riding a horse. It was just a tank. They needed a tank.
That is his horse. You need a tank to carry him, for real. But yeah, it was crazy. Next year again. Here we go, baby.
Thank you so much for joining. Congratulations again to your championship Denver Nuggets. Is there anything you want to promote to the people? Where can they find you or this video of your incredible basketball highlights of sitting on the bench, etc.?
You can find the basketball video on Twitter. My handle's Thadpool, like Tadpole, but with an H because it's cute. And then I'm most active on Instagram. I post clips of stand-up every now and then. I'm a big golfer. I'm posting golfing clips now. It's still bad, but you can catch me there. If you're in Colorado, come see a live show, please. I need to get paid.
There you have it.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you guys.
Of course, man.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Horse. Horse is hosted by Adam Amawala and Mike Schubert. Our editor is Kensei Soramaki. The website is by Kelly Schubert. The social media is by both of the Horse Boys. The art is by Allison Wakeman. And the music is by Patino Campamanes.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Burge, Kendra Hadley, Salvatore Testa, Trust the Process, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, How About Them, World Champion Denver Steamed Nuggets, Anna Reed, Steph Curvy for 3. Oh, there were some curves to that.
Literal curve.
I'm going to read this through the sirens. We're going for it. Hi, Trish, Nicole Arsenault, Stubby Boardman Gets Paid, Chase Underulo, Mr. Bubbles Plays Ball, Naked Rachel, and Sydney Crosby is a vampire. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Horse Hoops and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops because
Horse Hoops tried to block the bus that the Nuggets were on, and they got in trouble.
Shouldn't do that. Here comes the tank.
Here comes the tank.
Look what you made me do. Go to our website, horsehoops.com, for links to some of the fun stuff we talked about today, including Thad's undeniable high school basketball mixtape.
And if you want to support the Horse Boys, you can do so in a couple different ways. You can go to patreon.com/horsehoops. You'll get access to bonus content such as those additional full court press news related ramblings that I talked about. Then you can also go to horsehoops.com/merch. You can get Stuff Nerds shirts or digital items and such. And just tell someone about the show. That's always a really good way to support us if you want to help us in a non-monetary way. Word of mouth helps a lot. But we're going to conclude this episode by putting our hands in the middle and saying something on the count of 3. What are we feeling, Mr. Amawala?
That's a good question. You got anything?
I think now the NBA, like, good off-season stuff is over. Like, the draft is done and the lottery's done. Now we're getting into, like, time when we should pay attention to the WNBA the most. I think it's just a go W on 3 so that we all can now fully embrace, like, there's no basketball to worry about except for women's basketball. Let's watch it.
That sounds good. Speaking of which, as we record this now at the end of June, you know the Storm are playing at the Barclays Center a week from Saturday. I don't know if you're going.
I don't know. I'll have to look at the schedule, but that's quite tempting.
Look it up. It's still going to go to a game with my mom. That is going to happen.
Let's do it. All right, go W on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Go W! The league, not the former president, for sure.
Oh, God, yes.